Okay, so first off, I want to thank ARC Europe for inviting me. I'm very honored to make the trip across the Atlantic to be here and to give this talk. And especially thank Alex for all the work that she's been putting into this conference. And I also want to apologize. I have been sick for the past 2 days, and that has limited my ability to meet you, to interact with you, to participate as much with you, and it has also diminished my energy today. So I'm just had a hell energy drink, and I'm hoping that that is going to boost me up, at least for this talk, and then afterwards I will sleep. But let's begin. I want to ask a couple of quick questions first. How many of you have read We the Living by Ayn Rand? Okay, about half of you. I will briefly mention some moments from We the Living that are not important spoilers, but I will hope they will motivate you to read it. And then next, how many of you would say that you love going to art museums? You love going to art museums. Okay, a lot of you. How many of you would say, wonderful. Okay. You are my favorite people because you are the converts for today. Well, all those who say you love art museums too, you will be converts as well for maybe a different approach for getting into art. The topic of my talk, I've got to keep looking at the title. I keep forgetting. How to use art to shape your future. So, I want to start off with a quick game that has nothing to do with the topic. And this is a game that involves some audience participation. And it's a game I love to play every time I step into an art gallery. And that game is, I look at all the paintings around me, and I glance at them very briefly, and I come up with a title for the painting. I don't look at the plaque, I come up with my own title. So I have got several paintings here I want to show you. Imagine you're coming into my gallery. Welcome to my gallery. And I want you to give your own title. Okay? You can write it down if you want. You can say it out loud. In fact, I would encourage you to say it out loud. And I'll try to hear everything. If it gets too crazy, then I will institute a hand rule. But very quickly, we're going to do this quickly. I'm going to show you each painting for 2 seconds. If you're lucky, 2.5 seconds. Are you ready? What's your title for this painting? Man in a Garden. Don't be serious. Don't be serious. Dutch Fields. Wonderland. War and Peace. Imperialism. Wonderful. What's that? Flowers and Blood. Oh. I should talk to the artist. He should change the title of his painting to Flowers and Blood. All right, here's another one. What's your title for this one? Okay. Friday evening, the night before the exam, fatigued. All right, great. Even if I don't hear your title, just say it out loud. Bring it into the world. Wonderful. Okay. Any more titles? Depression. Okay, excellent. Here's a third one. What's your title for this one? Lady with a Milk Breakfast. Handmaid. Handmaiden. Morning Work. A Lady in Beauty. Okay, great. Next. Let's see, how many do I have? 2 more. All right, how about this one? I'm scared. Okay.
Siblings.
That one became personal. Siblings.
For me, it looks like Cain and Abel.
Cain and Abel. Sticks fight.
Battle of ideas.
Battle of ideas. What's that? Middle East. Marxists. Okay. All right. Yes, this is a fun one, isn't it? No, not really fun. It's really awful, but one more. What's your title for this one? Okay, I heard you, Daniel. I love trees, curiosity, picking the apple.
Size doesn't matter.
Size doesn't matter. Okay, great. All right, thanks for painting. Thanks for playing. Okay, so I'd like to do two things with you for this topic of how to use art to shape your future. Number one, how art already shapes your future. I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how you are already carrying art right now within your soul that is directing your future. And two, I want to focus on the visual arts and how to use the visual arts to shape your future in ways you might not have thought you could. So, I want to start off with a question for you. And this is a question I've asked to several of you that I've gotten a chance to chat with. And it's, who is a childhood hero of yours in fiction? So in movies or in novels, who is a childhood hero of yours in fiction? Batman. James Bond. Super Mario. Rapunzel. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Think of one think back to when you were 7, 8, 9 years old. Harry Potter. Yep. Okay. So for me, there was this comic I loved called Barbe Rouge. I'm originally French. You could not tell from my French accent? No? Okay. So I used to love Barbe Rouge and reading this comic. This pirate of the red beard, Barbe Rouge. And he would go off on these adventures and steal all the wealth and pillage, and he had a son that he would, like a kid who would travel with him, and the kid would fall into the ocean, and sharks would come after him, and he'd dive into the ocean and save his son. And this was a character that I loved. Now, I want to bring up an example from We the Living. There's a character in We the Living named Kira. And we get to see a little bit of who Kira thinks of as her childhood heroes. And I'm going to expand it a little bit to art for her. She had a piece of literature, a story that she loved, of a Viking who would conquer the world, who ignored other kings, the church, whose own will was the most important thing. And she saw this as, it said she was never in love before, but this was almost like being in love. And this was a character that she loved from when she was very young. And as you read the novel, you get a good sense that this character comes up in how she meets and how she thinks of the men in her life and who she's attracted to and who she falls in love. There's also a piece of music that she heard very early on that she loved. I think it's called The Song of Breaking Glass, a Viennese operetta that's lighthearted and joyful. And I want to share with you one quote that sums up these artworks for Kira. Kira Argonova entered into life with the sword of a Viking pointing the way, and an operetta tune for a battle march. So for her, these two works of art set a course for her future, for her spiritual future. And these heroes that you have in your life, that you remember, are the ones that set a course for you in your future. And sometimes you can think back and see the traces of how that adoration of that character from when you were young is still with you. So, I want to sum up this idea of how art already shapes your future by referring to the Romantic Manifesto, Ayn Rand's treatise on art. And I want to give you her words of how she views art as it relates to its function in shaping your future. She says, since man lives by reshaping his physical background to serve his purpose, since he must first define and create his values, a rational man needs a concretized projection of these values. He needs to see them in real life in front of him. He needs an image in whose likeness he will reshape the world and himself. Art gives him that image. It gives him the experience of seeing the full, immediate, concrete reality of his distant goals, of his future goals. By the very nature of art, by the very nature of experiencing art, and judging whether or not this is for us or not, this reality that we're experiencing, we are using art to shape our future. Every time you go to a movie and you say, I like that movie, that is a reality whose characters you like and you want to be a part of your life in some way. It's a vision of life that you want. So you do this naturally with all forms of art. But I think that there is one form of art that it's more difficult to do this with, and that most people don't use, and that is the visual arts. So I'd like to start off by delving into an art experience with you, and this is the kind of art experience that I've been sharing with the world for 15 years now. It's the art experience that I wanted when I was 20 years old and I saw other people react to an artwork and maybe cry in front of a painting, and I said, I don't know how to do that. How can I do that? So I want to take you through a little bit of an art experience in the gallery here, in my gallery. And I'm going to ask you some questions, and we're going to read this artwork together. Now, for the sake of time and to speed things up, I'll ask the questions, and please feel free to shout things out. I may not hear them. My hearing isn't great. That pirate spirit, I drove a motorcycle for 8 years, and so that my hearing is shot after 8 years of motorcycling. But say those things out loud, and then I'm going to provide my reading. So, here's the painting that I want to spend time with. Now, the first question to ask of any artwork that you look at is, what do you see going on? Because there's one thing that people don't naturally do when they go in front of visual artwork. They don't think of seeing a story. There are characters here. There's drama here. And it's not my goal, it's not my purpose to tell you what it is. In order to get into the artwork, to fully experience it, you must read it. When you read a novel, The Fountainhead, We the Living, if you are able to picture in your mind's eye what the characters look like, what the action looks like, what St. Petersburg in Russia looks like at that time period, if you picture that, if you picture the novel, it comes to life for you. With the visual arts, it's the reverse. You have the picture. And it's your job to fully experience it, to provide the words. And if they are your words, that's a more effective experience. So I'm going to ask you some questions to generate some words, but then I'm going to share my reading, my words as well. All right, so what do you see going on? Where is the story taking place? Is this a park?
City outskirts? The Netherlands. For some reason, I'm getting heavy Netherlands.
Netherlands, city outskirts. Maybe Ukraine. What type of place is this? It's maybe city outskirts? Anybody else have any thoughts about what kind of place? Countryside? A public garden? A private garden. What do you see that makes you say private garden? There's a gate. Oh. Yeah. Great detail. Okay. All right. Let's go to the fancy gentleman with the sword. I didn't hear it, if you want to. So this is a fancy gentleman, refined. Can you point out 3 details that you find especially fancy about him? The scarf, yeah. Earrings. Hat. Red, color of the rich. The hat symbolizing status. And it's not just a hat. You see that it's got its big black feather on top. And is that like a diamond necklace on top of the hat?
The handle of the sword itself.
Oh, do you see the handle of the sword, the pommel. Look at that intricate lacing. Okay. Oh, can I have 2 more details? 2 more details of how fancy he is.
The way he stands. Fine mustache.
Wait. The way he stands.
He's in front of the pot.
The earrings. We'll talk about that pot. I heard the fine mustache. Oh, I love that mustache. Do I have a close-up of the mustache? Okay. All right, next question I have for you. There's a crowd out here. So you see the crowd over here. What is this crowd doing? Who are they? What do you see that makes you say soldiers?
Standardized uniforms.
I think they are protect, and they are trying to protect the place from the enemy.
Oh, so they've gathered here to try to protect the place from the enemy. I heard standardized uniforms. Oh, you think they are invading? Oh, there's a man with a hands up over here.
I didn't see that before.
Okay. Well, let's get a better view of see what these people are doing. What are they doing? Trampling flowers? No, they must be dancing. Aren't they dancing in the flowers? Maybe there's something wrong with them? Yeah. Okay. They have an axe? Are they hitting the flowers too? They have what, these batons that almost look like guns maybe? And they're hitting the flowers, they're stomping the flowers. If you had a remote control, push play, and what movement do you see? Okay. So it looks like there's a group of soldiers within this private garden, an elaborate private garden of tulips, who are stomping all over these flowers while this distinguished, refined gentleman is standing there looking at them with his sword. All right. One more thing. These two men over here, where are they going? They're coming over to him. Now, if you wish to stand up, and I will stand up here, one thing I'd like to do to get a feel for what the characters in the paintings are feeling themselves is to take the pose of a character. So, see if you can take the pose of this Lord right here. And you've got to be very careful and look, and then feel in your body what it feels like. Do you feel cowardly? Do you feel proud? How do you feel? So I've got one foot in front of the other. I almost feel like I'm doing ballet right here. And I've swept my arm over. Oh, my left arm is back here maybe. And then I'm lifting my chin back. Protecting. Protecting? What protecting what? They're stomping all over his flowers. He's prepared. He might be preparing to attack because with one simple movement, I don't know if anybody does any fencing.
So the soldiers should approach and reach the flower. Maybe they are doing some workouts, I guess. But look at his face when he's relaxed.
Oh, yes. Okay. So it seems like he's protecting this flower. Why is he protecting this flower? If he's the owner of this park or this garden with all these other tulips, and he's not doing anything against them, he's just protecting this one, what is he doing that for?
That's the most valuable one of all.
Teaching how to reach the goal. It's not a full flower.
Oh. I love the theories. Are you ready for a little bit of background story?
Yes.
So this flower is indeed the most valuable flower. And this does take place in the Netherlands. And it takes place in the Netherlands at a time where tulips were more valuable than anything in the world. There was a stock exchange for tulips. And you would buy tulip bulbs. And then there would be, everybody would, I don't know anything about finance. Everybody would buy tulips and then the prices would fall. And there were certain tulips that were much more valuable, including this one. This one was called a Semper Augustus. And it was worth a year's wages for an average salary. And it was the one flower that by far was worth more than any others. So, in his tulip gardens, these soldiers from his own region are coming to stomp out these flowers because there's a tulip overflow in the market, and so tulip prices are going down, and the government is saying, okay, we need to cut down on the supply of tulips so that tulip prices go back up. So, sir, we need to destroy your tulips. So they go in and they destroy tulips in order to stabilize a tulip market. And here we have this gentleman. And I want you to imagine what he could be saying. You'll never get this. What more?
Go away.
Go away. What more?
Over my dead body.
Over my dead body. What more? Not this one. What's that? Give me tulips or give me death. So, what is your Semper Augustus? If you are being threatened, if you are being attacked, if things that you find precious in your life are in danger, what is the one thing, or what is a thing in your life that, even if you're seeing other things threaten and hurt, this is the one thing that you are going to protect? Freedom. And you can think of things that are personal to you. I can think of my little niece, Quinn. Well, she's not so little anymore. I can think of, my family, or my laptop with all the writings I've done. So think of the things that you have in your life that you would see as that flower. All right. Just a show of hands. You don't have to share. Can you think of something in your life that would be that flower? All right, thank you. So, I just want to take you through that experience. All right. Quick shift here. I'm sorry for the mess, but I wanted to show you my refrigerator. Not the inside, that's even messier, but the outside. And on this refrigerator, there are a lot of things. Shopping list. Oh, a happy birthday card I got. A friend sent a postcard from Japan. Another postcard from some family friends I love. Oh, a reminder to go walk twice a day because I teach online, so I walk twice a day. A coupon for free pizza, but I think it's really expired. It's 2019, but it's been on my fridge since 2019. That's 5 years ago. And then I've got another note that says, just one pile. It's a kind of motivational saying, when I feel like I don't want to do anything, I'm tired. Let me just take care of one small pile at a time. And then I've got a painting up there. All these objects, in a way, are reminders of something, or kind of ways of shaping my future. Here are the people that are valuable to me. Here are some things I need to remind myself to do. So I want to go to this. Oh, closer look. Don't look. I've got this really tiny little painting there. Just tiny little painting. Why don't I have a big painting and put it on, the living room? So why is this here for me? So I want to say this first of all. It is not primarily a motivational or something that tells me I need to do this. Like, go take a walk twice a day. No. Here's what this is. I want to take you back to when I saw this painting in person. And I bet many of you have seen this painting before by Jan Vermeer in Amsterdam. And I want to share with you a little bit of my experience of this painting. And as with any painting, no matter how famous or not famous, I'm always treating it for the story. What's going on? Now, there isn't as much drama as the other painting, but there is still a story here. A woman, a maid, a servant is pouring milk into a basin. Great, done. We figured it out. Let's immerse ourselves a little bit more. I want you to imagine the sounds that you hear. What do you hear in this scene?
Animals outside.
I don't see any animals. What do you see in the scene that is giving you these sounds? What sounds do you see in the scene? Mm-hmm.
I can smell it.
I love smells too. There isn't much sound. It's just the trickle of that milk. And just imagine that sound where everything else is quiet. I don't see the animals outside. I don't see anything else going on. There are no kids around. It's just her. Now, I would try to take her pose here, but I want you to imagine how heavy that clay pot is and how strong she is in order to carefully tip it over, and how conscientious she is as she's pouring it in. And it's a big clay pot of milk, and she's got to fill that up. And push play on the scene and imagine her just slowly, concentratedly pouring that in. That's not me. Because you know what happens when I wake up in the morning? Where's the coffee? I have a million things on my mind. I have nothing that I'm able to do by myself. Here, I'll show you one image. Here's a frustration for me. Often, I start stirring. I like sugar in my coffee. I start stirring, and I don't stir enough. Because I need to go on to the next thing, because my mind is racing to all these things. And I stir it 3 times, and I taste my coffee, and it says, did I put sugar in this? And I didn't. It's hard for me to concentrate fully on a simple task. Now, why do I want to do that? I've got books to write. I've got places to travel to. I've got big ideas to think of. Those are much more important than making coffee, washing dishes. So, what I see when I look at her, and that stillness, and the careful way she is doing this ordinary daily task, I see somebody that I want to be more of. Somebody that is not, oh, did I get a text? Constantly ADHD, constantly moving around, constantly out of focus, especially for things that I feel sometimes are mundane, that are not the grand heroic quest. But you know what? Life is made up of so many of those moments, of these kinds of moments. And this painting there, and the experience I had looking at the stillness, the beauty, the serenity, made me think, I want to treat those everyday moments that I have so much of, sometimes, with more mindfulness, with more care. I use this as a contrast. I'm not going to get into it now, but just, this is how I usually am, like, oh, what's going on? Oh. Okay. So, why is it here? This reminds me of the art experience that I had and that I want to recall, and I want to recall that experience whenever I need it. So just a quick glimpse on my fridge makes me think, you know what? I'm going to stir my coffee just a few times more. Let me be in the moment a little bit more. I'm going to do this painting real quick. All right? What do you see going on? Inner conflict? What's that? Game? Okay. A fight? It's not a game. So here's another question. Where are they? A river? Nature? Mountains, countryside? Maybe they're trappers? Shepherds. Oh, shepherds, yeah, in the fields. What's unusual about their fighting?
They're kneeling down.
Like they're what? They're bigger than the mountain. Like, yes.
It's almost like they're in quicksand. They're kind of almost like being sucked into the ground, and are they paying attention at all to being sucked into the ground? No! I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna knock you out. I'm focused on attacking you. Okay. So why am I showing you this? So we've got two very different scenes. Two very different scenes of conflict. I'm sure I've been in moments like this. Siblings, I heard? Yes. When you just forget about everything else and you just fight. And you don't think about what you're fighting about, you're just angry. There may be a fight here, but these are two very different attitudes towards a fight. One is indiscriminate attacking, not even aware of the harm it's bringing you, and not even paying attention to the bigger picture that you are sinking into the ground. Noble, dignified, and very aware of the values at stake. Go ahead, trample on those flowers. I know what my priorities are. So, is this what you're going to think about next time you go on Twitter? Okay. There's a choice you make when you get people who are angry at you or who attack you. You can think to yourself, they are being mean to me or they're attacking my values, so I am going to attack back. Or you can think to yourself, is this worth defending, and why am I defending it? And then the manner in which I'm going to defend it is not going to be crazed, but dignified. So when I see these two side by side, I know that this is the way I want to be. And if I ever come across a conflict, like somebody says, oh, Luke, that's not the way you're supposed to do art, I could go like, yeah, F you, that is the way. Or I could think about, okay, what's valuable here? Is it to try to defend a position, or is it to have a conversation to learn together? Okay. I want to take you through one more quick example and then wrap it up. I like this one. Friday night, huh? Or before the exam. Notice this child. I heard depression as well. Annoyed. Do you see what they're looking at? It's hard with the light. There's some bubbles up there. They're holding a bubble wand. They just blew some bubbles out of this jar. The last time I saw bubbles floating around, I saw kids running after them with excitement. Oh! Not this child. There is no eagerness, no curiosity. There's apathy. If you were to give a quote to describe what they would say, it might be something like, "I'm just too bored." All right. Now, this one is a little bit harder to figure out, but can you try to see what is going on here? She's looking at something out of curiosity. She wants to reach, maybe climb. Maybe she wants to do flip upside down. Oh, maybe she looks pregnant. Yeah, I was wondering, but I think she's pretty, maybe she's young, I don't know. Yeah.
See if the fruit is sweet or not. Try to see the fruit is sweet enough or not.
Oh, looking up at the fruit to see if it's sweet enough. So it does look like she's staring at something up there in the tree. Can I zoom in? Will this work? Yeah. Let's look at her face.
Okay, it might be a dead body hanging out the fish. Like, come on, look.
Might be a dead body. Think of what's plausible. Think of what's plausible.
Is there a cat out there?
Maybe there's a cat.
Or maybe it's just a childish curiosity. Maybe she wants to climb the tree.
She's pregnant. Have a baby. An apple from the tree.
Oh, yeah. Are you ready for the title?
Maybe she wants to hang herself.
So, maybe she wants to hang herself, and I see you kind of smiling when you say that. But one thing to always ask yourself when you're offering up even kind of joking ideas, always ask yourself, what do I see in the artwork that makes me say that? Always go back to the artwork and look at the artwork and test out your hypotheses. In the interest of time, we're not going to do a full reading of the artwork, but I'll just jump to the title. The title, The Bird Song. The Bird Song. So she's walking along through the forest, out by herself, in her red kind of summer dress, and she hears a bird in the trees, and she's wondering where it is. And if you take the pose here, kind of twisting around, it's not a comfortable pose. It's one where you're trying to angle your head exactly right in order to be able to see through the branches. She is being very curious about something that is delightful, that has caught her attention. You know what slide I'm going to put up now, right? They each have a fundamentally different attitude to the world around them. One is apathetic, bored towards it. Even something that would be delightful is not. And another doesn't just respond to the delight, but wants to investigate, wants to seek it out. Now, this question that I'm asking, who do I want to be? I've asked it twice already. And this is a key question. And this is a question that I encourage you to ask every time you're in front of an artwork that you've had an experience with. Is this a vision of life that I want? Is this a kind of person that I would like to be? And this question is a key to turning an artwork and a beautiful story that you might be able to personally relate to something that you can use to shape your future. So we've already talked a little bit about how art, just by being art, whether it's music or novels or movies, just experiencing it directs your life a certain way. Whether it's for me with Barbe Rouge, or Kira with her Viking, or you with whatever you remembered from when you were a child. And that experience of art that carves a pathway for your future keeps happening every time you experience art. Not to the same intensity, and maybe not for certain mediums as much. Maybe when you go see a wonderful movie, that affects you more and say, oh, that is the vision of life that I want. And maybe you don't get that as much when you go to the art museum. So what I want to encourage you to do, there's two things. How do you use art to shape your future? One, experience it more deeply. And if you feel like you don't experience the visual arts, which we're focusing on very deeply, then that's why I'm here. Learn how to. Because it is that experience that you have that is going to stick with you. It's not me telling you about an artwork. It's not Ayn Rand telling you about an artwork. It's you having a powerful experience. And the more powerful experience you can create for yourself, the more memorable it is and the more you'll want to think about the next point. Is this what I want for my own future? Thank you very much. Thanks, Justina. I like that question a lot. How many of you use Netflix? Right? And you go on Netflix and you scroll through and you maybe watch a little preview and you keep going, and maybe after half an hour you still haven't picked out the movie you're going to watch because you're just looking at the previews and you're sitting there deciding. And that is the experience that most people have with art museums. They treat it like if you see the artwork, you're done with it, and you're good to go. And sometimes you feel overwhelmed, like, okay, it's a big museum. I've got to see everything. That's why I'm here. I'm here to visit the museum. When you go to the Netflix website, you're not there to visit the Netflix website. Your goal is to find a movie or show to watch. And so, what I like to do is to have a certain mindset, which is my primary goal is not to go to the art museum, to visit the art museum, to check off all the artworks as I go along, to make sure I've seen every part on the map. My goal is to say I came away with a deep, fulfilling experience with one artwork, maybe 2 or 3. But if I have one, say, wow, that's great. Now the question is, after that mindset, is how do you decide? So I talk a lot about this in Touching the Art in the book. And there are 2 things. One, there are certain artworks that I go to that communicate the best stories, that communicate them, that show them the most clearly, the most dramatically, stories that I can share with others and we can agree, oh, he looks bored, or this person looks like they're dignified in the face of conflict. And those artworks, those more realistic depictions, and the best ones are often found in the 19th century art. And so I usually go to those sections first. And there are other sections I love to go to as well. Now, when I'm in a gallery and there are 30 paintings, that's still a lot. Even to just go around 2 minutes each, I'm done. I don't do that. I do like what we did at the beginning when you entered into my gallery here. 2 seconds, glance, and I give it a title. Because what giving a title does is it immediately has you look at the artwork not just with your eyes and not just with your feelings, but look for the story. So when you come up with a title that says siblings or depression or, man fighting bear, whatever it is, there is an implied story and implied questions in that title. And it's an introduction to dive more into the story of that artwork. So I glance at the artworks around me in a gallery I'm interested in, and I go, okay, women having fun, big boss, the serpent, whatever comes to mind, the first thing that comes to mind, and I monitor my first impression. Most of the time it's meh, meh. Sometimes it's, oh, interesting, or wow, or oh. Whatever reaction I have, I monitor that, and then I decide on those immediate, quick reactions after my titles what I'm going to sit down in front of and spend time with and read. Over in the back, over there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation. I really enjoyed it. I like to be pointed out the art piece on your fridge and how it reminds you of that exact feeling. Now my question comes from my experience. Is that feeling ever fade away or become less? Can you rely on the fact that every single time you look at it, you get the same inspiration, the same feeling that you got when you looked at it first? And if you don't, what are some of the things that you do to try and circumvent that and regain?
Okay, so I've got the milkmaid on my fridge, and over time, my memory of the experience and my emotional attachment fades, like everything, like all memories and emotions, and fade over time. So what do I do to circumvent that feeling, to address that? If I want to keep that artwork fresh, the memory fresh, first thing that comes to mind, sharing it with others. So I teach literature and I teach art appreciation. And many of the novels that I teach, I've taught them 10 times. But each time I teach them, I'm sharing it with some new students who are reading it for the first time and seeing things and experiencing things. And so re-experiencing an artwork with someone else is a very powerful way of making it even more something that's attached to you. The visual arts, one of my favorite things about the visual arts is nobody is telling you, shh, like in a movie theater, or wait, I missed that part. It's a very social activity to read an artwork together because that image is stable. It doesn't move. So going to an art museum, if you want to, come with me to the Hague. No, not the Hague. To the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam. We'll go see the Milkmaid and we'll read it together. Now, I can go by myself and experience it, but then if I'm there with you, you're going to use different words than I use. You're going to see different things, and that freshens it up and keeps the memory of it. So that social aspect is the first thing that comes to mind. And the continuous attachments, continually making connections as you're going along. Life, you can keep finding things, and like, I don't know, for a lot of works of art, you may say, you know what, that looks interesting. That painting of the Tulip Lord, called the Tulip Folly, that looks like something I would like to be, but I've never been in a situation like that. Well, maybe one day you might recognize that you are in a situation like that. You recall it, and actually the painting will become something even more precious to you because that your experience has filled the painting up, your new experience has filled the painting up with more meaning and more emotion. And rather than kind of diminish over time, it becomes more and more meaningful as you gain new life experiences to connect to the painting. So two things. Make it social with other people and keep making connections to the painting.
But if you have not already, could you please tell one best piece of book you would recommend to read in order to understand the art works better, the paintings or sculptures or whatever?
It's almost as if you planned that question for me. So this is my book, Touching the Art. I wrote it 15 years ago, and I guess now it's a classic. 25 years is a classic. This is the book I'd recommend. The English is not very difficult, but it's packed with the tips on how to read the art, on how to visit an art museum that I mentioned. I do have another book called Stories in Paint, and that is taking 50 artworks and going through and sharing questions to guide your reading, as well as my reading of the artwork. And built into the book is an audio component, so you can listen to my commentary and the questions. There are like QR codes in the book, and you can listen to that. So that one is available on my website as a PDF. I've got copies of Touching the Art here. I was going to sell them for 15 euros, but I need to get rid of them, so I'm going to sell them for 10 euros. If anybody wants to purchase one, and I'm happy to sign it too.
Thank you so much. Thanks for that great talk, Luke. I really enjoyed going through the Tulip Folly, I think you called it, and reading that painting, and it was such a fun detective story. Part of, for me, the emotional impact of it was hearing the backstory afterward and sort of confirming some suspicions. I actually saw it was red and white and thought, oh, maybe it's a special red and white kind of Tulip.
Yeah.
How does that fit into the reading process?
Yeah.
So you said, like, don't go directly to the chapter, but you still brought in the story factor.
Who likes mystery novels? What if I started a mystery novel and said, hey, read this Agatha Christie novel, here's the killer. The killer is this person. It was like, okay. I almost don't need to read it anymore. I consider background story like spoilers. And I want to try to figure out the detective work, piece together the mystery of the artwork myself as much as possible, And then when I do get some answers, I decide, okay, I figure out as much as I can, and I've still got questions, I go to the background story. Those answers mean so much more. I go like, that's what she's looking at. It's a bird. Oh, okay. It kind of makes sense. I was thinking it was a cat, but you know what? Yeah, okay. So you get a chance to put 2 and 2 together to see 4, rather than just let me tell you it's 4. You get the mental activity of bridging, of making connections yourself. And that's where emotional power comes in. When you have eureka or apple fall on your head. Like Isaac Newton when he had the apple fall on his head. Do you guys know that reference? Okay.
Yeah, we both had a talk earlier where we talked about the Caney principle, like building suspense. I feel like that was just a really good demonstration of the Caney principle in action. It's like building suspense. Give your hypothesis with your about
Yep.
it, you confirm or deny.
All right. I want to recommend, if you're here tomorrow, the Hungarian National Gallery has lots of amazing artworks. The painting of the bird song, that's at the Hungarian National Gallery, and there's so many more. I highly recommend it. I'll be here for a few more moments before I go and fall asleep. If you want to purchase a book or chat a little bit more. But thank you all very much for sharing these artworks with me. And I hope you will stay in touch. Oh, there's a sign-up sheet for my Mint newsletter. Please feel free to stay in touch that way. So thank you.